you ever felt a bit scattered about the brain, like you couldn't focus on things that needed your attention? Have you ever had days, weeks, or months when you kept forgetting things? Losing your keys, your wallet? Have you always had a problem with believing you'll be on time to an appointment, only to show up 15 minutes late and not know how you'd gotten behind? How many decisions do you regret? 10%? 30%? 80%? If you're nodding along right now, just know that there is likely a reason. Maybe you've had too much on your plate right now, or perhaps you're dealing with heavy emotions that have taken up most of your brain space. But for about 6% of you, your reason might be ADHD. Most of us think of ADHD as a new thing, especially women. That's because until more recently, it was thought women were somehow immune from ADHD and its effects, which has turned out not to be true. Would it surprise you that the first description of ADHD came to us from Sir Alexander Crichton of Scotland in 1798? To be fair, though, the first clinical discussion on the topic occurred in 1902. However, it wasn't until 1937 that the first medication for ADHD, Benzedrine, famously referred to in Sir Elton John's hit song Benny and the Jets, came into use, improving classroom behavior for some children, while giving others one hell of a high. Therein lies the problem. The most effective medications for ADHD have always been controversial because their effects on neurotypicals, making up most of the world's population, was undesirable and addictive to anyone with normative neurology. Therefore, within a majority voting system such as the United States, these substances quickly became controlled and their use frowned upon by most people. Even today, with massive piles of scientific research dedicated to it, ADHD is viewed by many people as a hoax, an excuse for laziness or poor behavior. By some, it's even viewed as a conspiracy. This episode, as we discuss ADHD, it will be part of a crossover event with our other podcast, Bazeltov, The Courage and Creativity of ADHD. Bazeltov was our first podcast, dedicated to a condition that all three of us experience. We hope you all enjoy it and learn a little more about your siblings, your friends, or even yourself. This is Sage, Skepic, and Storyteller. Welcome to the Triple S podcast. I'm Jen.
I'm Ellen.
And I'm Annette.
And today we've got an episode that is definitely near and dear to all three of our hearts. It's ADHD.
It
Yay!
A long time ago, in our brains anyway. A long time ago is only a year ago for everybody else. But about a year ago, we started up a podcast called Bazeltov, The Courage and Creativity of ADHD. And we did this because all three of us have a different subtype of ADHD. And we really wanted to talk about how it's affected our lives because our generation of women is a little bit unusual in that everyone knew ADHD existed when we first came about, but it wasn't until we were adults that many of us became diagnosed with ADHD or medicated or treated in any way because of the thought that women couldn't have ADHD when we were younger. So there's a whole generation of women who are in their 30s to 40s, well, mid 30s to 40s, who were kind of skipped over in that diagnostic process. So then we did the most ADHD thing ever, and we jumped ship from Bazeltov with zero explanation and zero segue into working with conspiracy theories because of all the rabbit holes that we used to experience, because Ellen would bring us these awesome conspiracy theories as we were getting ready for our ADHD podcast shows. And we just got hooked on that. And then we were like, you know what? Let's do another podcast. why not? What would it hurt? And then we
It
just
was
abandoned the other
the
one.
most ADHD thing ever, was
Yep.
abandoning our ADHD podcast and hyper focusing on a new one. But you
Uh,
know what? We love talking about this stuff, and you can only talk about ADHD so many times in so many episodes, and we
Right.
covered a lot. On this show we
we did
can
cover a
go
lot.
into more broad stuff, but yeah, I'm interested. We never did a conspiracy episode on Basel Study,
No.
so.
And it
Mhm.
was the perfect opportunity because there are so many people who believe that ADHD isn't a real thing, and even some conspiracies about it.
I know, I know.
Mm,
I mean,
yay.
it's I feel like if you don't have ADHD, it is harder to understand unless you're a really empathetic person, but, I know
Mhm.
plenty of people that just don't get it. They're like, "I don't understand why is it so hard for you to just remember to do this?" Or just, like they just think everyone should be able to function the same way, but it's like all of our brains are different. We are so different, so
Yeah.
neurodiverse. There's no
Mhm.
one size fits all. So, yeah,
Yeah.
ADHD is here and it's real. But, yeah,
Y-
so
Yeah. I've
And
been
in this room, it's
experiencing
here in abundance.
yeah, I've been experiencing my fair share of ADHD this week. I mean, I built 2 whole websites and, started a new business all in about 4 days.
Just
Like
what?
like,
that's
why?
hyper focus. I mean, once you decide you wanna do something, it's like a superpower. You're like, I'm gonna get it done." We
Yeah, I forgot
procrastinate and
Yeah.
then
forget to eat, forget to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, in the last week and a half, I didn't take my medication because of a weird snafu with, getting refills, and then I ran out and I couldn't have any grace period with it because it's, controlled substances, even though it's not really super controlled substances. The way they treat ADHD medication is just kind of odd in that it's hard to get your hands on. It's really tightly controlled, even if it's not stimulant medication. And yeah, it can be kind of a nightmare. So I've been going without my medications and I'm just like all, energetic and like, man, I think I'm going to write a new novel. Yeah.
Was
Like,
yours part of the shortage? Was yours part of the shortage problem that everyone's been
no,
having?
no, I don't think there's a shortage on Strattera, which is the
Okay.
medication I've been taking. It's a non-stimulant, so it's not like Ritalin or Adderall.
Yeah.
It's something that's considered an SNRI or no, it's a something norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't remember
Yeah.
what the S
'Cause it's
stands for.
mostly Adderall, I think, is the big shortage going on, and I think it's still going on. And so there's a few
Yeah.
conspiracies behind that, of course.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
dig into that.
oh, yeah, people
Oh
saying
yeah.
that, they got their pills and the pills look weird or the pills aren't doing anything. It's like,
Mhm.
what is going on here exactly?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it a
suspicious.
misunderstanding or is it a conspiracy?
Hmm. We'll
Hmm.
find out. Actually, no, we won't find out.
No.
We don't know.
But we'll
All we
talk
can do is
about
talk
it.
about it. Yeah. Nobody knows
So,
for
if
sure.
not a soul, unless you work in the manufacturing labs or something.
I don't
Um,
think even they would
but
know it working in a manufacturing lab.
Yeah, honestly, that's
yeah,
kinda
true.
sad, You're right, though. The people that work in those labs, they probably just know, like, their little part that they do, and they're
Mhm.
not really told a lot of other stuff, and, uh,
Yeah,
we haven't really
yeah.
had any whistleblowers come out, but
No.
they're probably all made overseas in labs that are hard to
China.
find. Yeah, yeah. Actually, no, that's
China.
not I take it back. No, the
China.
ones I think they're in the US, actually, the ones that had the shortages. Weren't they shut down for some reason?
There was one formulary that did shut down.
Yeah, but
So
a
they
lot of
were
them are
not
probably made in
making
China.
they were not making Adderall anymore.
Okay.
And not only that, so one of the manufacturers shut down, which created a part of the shortage. And then the other part of the shortage was that there was an actual shortage of amphetamine salts. So the main active ingredient in Adderall itself, there was a shortage of that too.
Isn't that what also goes into
Mm.
meth?
Um, well,
It sounds like a meth ingredient.
it's well, I think it
I mean,
goes
not
I
that
know
I
it
know
goes
how to
into
make meth or anything, guys, but, like
I don't know how to I know I mean,
You
they
just watch
took
a lot of Breaking
Sudafed away
Bad.
from us because they thought we were gonna make meth with it. I know
I
Oh,
know,
that.
I know.
right?
And then that Sudafed PE, it was just proven to be absolutely worthless. I think they're taking it off the shelves now. I thought I read something about that.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. Sudafed P
It doesn't
I
even do
think it's called
anything.
phenylephrine or something
Yeah.
like that, whatever however you say that
No,
drug name.
it was proven to be bullshit, and they're pulling it
Oh,
from the
it is
shelves.
bullshit. It
Mhm.
does like, you'd have to drink the whole bottle to get it to do something,
Okay,
and
but
I don't feel like getting
I
liver failure.
I just wanna point out to everybody, and I say this all the time, and it really bothers me when people go and get medications for things like the cold because
Mm.
it's a virus.
You mean antibiotics
No, like
or just
even things
anything?
like Sudafed and stuff. It's like just
Mm.
drink lots of body. Just drink lots of body. Fucking hell. Drink lots of water and rest your body.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's what you're supposed to do when you're sick. You don't need cover it up and then work for the man until you die.
I know. I never really take cold medicine when I get
I
sick. I
don't.
just kinda
Mm-mm.
I just you know what I realized the other day? I don't even really take Advil that much anymore. I used to pop that shit like candy. Anytime I had a little ache or pain, take an Advil or Tylenol or something. And just in the last like probably 5 years, I've been like, why? I don't really want to take that unless I have to. I don't know what it's doing to me. Tylenol especially seems sus. I mean, there's like lawsuits
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I
ugh.
I'm not a big fan of anything that comes in pill form, and that includes vitamins.
Yeah.
So, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm an eat your vitamins kind of person, like, get
I
it
mean,
from your food,
ugh, the
get
sad
it
thing
from
is
your
Yeah.
environment.
our food doesn't have enough vitamins in it anymore, though.
In America,
Oh, god damn it,
I
I
know,
forgot you
right?
live in paradise.
uh we don't have those farming subsidies, we have rules
Oh,
against GMOs and things like that. We Our food is great. Everybody
man.
who
Yep.
comes here from America and stays at my
Mhm.
house and is, like, visiting, like, all of their food and inflammation, like, disappears every single time because the food here is clean.
Wow.
'Cause,
That's
is
amazing.
so how many substances that we're perfectly legal to eat here that have been FDA approved for us are outlawed over
Oh
there,
my
huh?
god, you can't send a lot of things, like, you can't buy things from America over here. Like, even the beef is raised for if it's gonna be exported, it's raised away from domestic cattle, guys. Like, I think I've said this
Mm,
before. This is a thing, okay? The food
yeah.
and drinks and the things that you put in your body in the US are crap. Enough said.
Yeah, I've heard this from people who've immigrated to this country from other countries like, India, Pakistan, Korea, where they come here and they're like, I was really thin before I got here and I ate all the same foods and all the same amounts and I gained like 50 pounds.
Yeah. And
Wow.
they're starting to cut down on home gardens and stuff in America too, so you can barely buy seeds anymore. Like, it's getting
What do
scary,
you
guys.
mean? What do you mean you can
Oh,
barely buy
you
You
seeds?
can
can't
buy seeds, but they're not a lot of them are not heirloom anymore. Like, so you
Mm.
can't save the seeds from the
Yeah,
crops that you grow because they're sterile.
Oh, so you
yeah,
have to buy new seeds every year.
every
Yes.
time.
Every single year unless you get your
Oh.
hands on an heirloom variety.
That's dirty. I don't like see
And
the whole
they're
agriculture
controlling how many,
industry.
like, chickens and stuff you can have on your property too.
Oh my god.
They are.
Anyway,
Yeah,
we got
even
way
in
off
this
track
small
already,
town,
see?
there's a limit.
You
I
gonna
think you can only have like 4 chickens on your property
what?
here, even in this small
Only
town,
4?
and you're not allowed to
Yeah,
have roosters.
Oh, wow.
So,
right? Like, it's getting scary, y'all. But
Yeah,
yep,
anyway.
it's
so
getting weird.
That
So
that could I bet you a lot of the food and stuff has to do with, like, some of the mental health illnesses in America, but
Well,
and heart disease and
how are the rates
cholesterol
of
and
I mean, but how are the rates of ADHD in Japan compared to, like, the
Wait, you're
US or,
talking about mental health in Japan? Are you funny?
Yeah.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah. Okay, so people just aren't getting diagnosed as much over there because 'cause they're not even going to seek treatment, they're just dealing with
No.
it.
No,
Yeah.
and I mean, I have some English school students who clearly have ADHD, and, luckily, I'm trained to know how to deal with them, and so, I'm able to teach classes in a way that keeps their attention, keeps them focused. We move around a lot. We change sitting areas a lot. We don't use like a textbook for more than 5 minutes. So,
Mhm.
like, I know how to control those things in my classroom, but then when you get sent to regular Japanese school, you got 40 other kids in your class and your teacher can't focus on you like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And if correct me if I'm wrong, but in Japan, they traditionally have not believed in mental illness as an actual thing, correct?
oh, no, they believe it's an actual thing. They just think that it's weakness.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So they
Speak
kind
for the
of
whole
like
country, please,
conceptualize it
represent them.
differently than we would.
Yes, but I'm pretty open
Okay.
with everybody about, like I have ADHD, but I'm also a very successful person. Um, I have my English school business. I have another chiropractic business. I also run an entertainment in a business. I'm a singer on stage. I'm a professional touring musician. I'm very successful in what I do, but I still got ADHD and I forget shit and my brain goes this direction when it should go this direction, and I've learned how to hire people to cover my ass so that it's not a big deal. But,
Mhm.
I've learned how to deal with it, but I'm very open with people about it. I'm like, "Yeah, I have ADHD." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gotten a lot more awareness over the last few years, I would say, especially the last like 5 years. But
Yeah.
do you think that are the rates going up or are we just
Okay,
better
so this
diagnosing
is
people?
conspiracy theory number 1.
Yes.
Conspiracy
Yes.
ADHD conspiracy number 1 is that it's being overdiagnosed, and that this is partially due to the fact that the older generations are not raising the younger generation in the way that they used to, in that they're being entertained by tablets and by video games, and so their attention spans are shortening, and that's leading to an overdiagnosis of ADHD, what should be ADHD, but it's actually just a product of the consumer, the video game consumer
Mm. And
lifestyle. Yeah.
the pandemic didn't do us any favors there. I mean, everyone's kids were glued to screens because that's what we had to do
Hmm.
to survive, you know?
Yeah. So do you guys think that this is just a social behavioral issue? Like, do you see any merit in saying, "Oh, yeah, because the parents are just handing kids tablets and games, their attention span isn't being developed in the correct way, and so, they're expressing some of the symptoms of ADHD." Do you think that's
I
a
mean,
thing?
it certainly could be. I don't know if there's been studies on that, but like haven't they proven that social media is causing depression in teenagers?
Yeah,
So
actually.
it doesn't seem like it'd be that difficult to
Mhm.
prove if, watching, short-term, short video video what am I trying to say? Video shorts or, you know, uh, just being on a screen for that long at such an early age. I wonder how that affects brain development, you know? Maybe that is causing ADHD-like symptoms in kids
Yeah, yeah,
because
like symptoms, I would
Right,
agree with.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like
something that mimics it, but isn't the actual thing because
yeah.
ADHD is a whole brain disorder
Right.
Yeah.
and it
It's how your
has
brain works.
structural manifestations inside of your brain. So
Yep.
you can actually look at an MRI of somebody's brain and be like, "Hey, that's different there than what we consider
Yeah.
I was
normative."
I was going to
So,
mention that, yeah, that is
Mhm.
it is there is, you know, anatomical differences in the brain of an as somebody who has ADHD. And so
Right.
if you
Mhm.
if you think your kid doesn't have ADHD and they're just addicted to short form media, then
Yeah.
get a brain scan. I mean,
Yeah.
well, I can't really say that
Mhm.
to you guys in the US because like
They
that's
don't even do that
expensive.
here.
It would be
They don't
$3,000
they
at
don't even
least.
do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
for it. What they'll do is sit you down in front of a computer to do a test. You can go to,
But if you
a
can't focus to
diagnoser.
do the test, you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like the actual, because I've studied the ADHD diagnose, all of the tests that they do, what they're looking for. I'm
Mhm.
very inarticulate today because I'm very tired. But I've had to study all of this, and if you put a child who is just not interested in front of a screen. I mean, there's other things that you have to look for. So you just have to have a really good therapist doing it because we are trained to look for those things. But I feel like
Mhm.
some therapists might just be lazy. Some doctors just want to give you a diagnosis and get you out.
Right. Like
Yeah.
the way that my son was diagnosed and the way that I was diagnosed and the way my daughter was diagnosed, all completely separate and way different processes.
Mm,
It was so nobody, not a single one of my therapists would even entertain the idea that I had ADHD before my son was diagnosed with it first. So he got diagnosed and I was absolutely certain that he had it because I think only like what, maybe 2 people on my father's side of our family don't have ADHD, so all the rest of us do, and it's quite severe. So, I was not surprised. I was expecting it, if anything. And so the first test I gave my son at age, what was it, 3 or 4, I gave him a very small cup of coffee. And he sat down for 30 whole minutes and played Minecraft after that, which he had never done before. And I was like, "Well,
Wow.
there we go."
Yeah, the
And I
stimulant
like
helped him focus.
this
It
when
almost
a
calmed him.
stimulant like
Yeah.
yeah, if you give your kid coffee and they sit around and focus on something for 30 minutes at age like 3 or 4, you know you have an ADHD kid right there
yeah.
Yeah.
because any other kid would have been climbing the goddamn walls.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you would have been like, "Why did I do this?" So,
Does he
I
still
took him
drink
in.
coffee?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Nice.
Um, yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's
He
how I
actually quite likes
focus.
coffee. Yeah, I love coffee. My both of my kids love coffee. And well, both of my I should say my born children like coffee. I have 3 others that I inherited. Um so um anyway, he got like a full rundown where they, looked at his behavior in a clinical setting with a therapist for like a year. They, informally diagnosed him first because in the United States, you have to have a diagnosis on day 1 so that they can bill your insurance. But everybody knows that that's what they say on the first day and what they say on like the 365th day is it might be different. So, he's been re-diagnosed with ADHD and ODD and some other things as well, like 4 different times now. So I know that it's not a fluke. And also his medications work for him. So also we know it's not a fluke. But when I presented this information to my therapist, they were like, "Well, we're still going to have to assess you for a year." So I took one of his so I took one of his pills, came into the office super calm. He asked what the change was and I told him and he was like, "Well, looks like we have a diagnosis." So that's how I got mine. I threw a
Wow,
fit.
I'm glad that they
Um
were cool with you and they weren't like, "What?"
That's
no, it's really
illegal.
Yeah.
it's so common for ADHD moms to take their kids medication so that they can focus
Oh,
for a few
man.
moments
I believe
and
it.
it's because they can't get that diagnosis themselves because of discrimination or because they don't have access to mental health care.
Let me
Um
Oh, sorry.
So then my daughter, because I already knew that she had serious movement issues, and I have this, my son has this, she was behaving a very, like, not the same way, but a similar way to him with the movement all the time. I took her into a place where they just run the little computer diagnostic test, and then they crap out a whole bunch of paperwork for you to read about specifically how she scored on it and what that means for her and what that means for her ability to learn. And so it was an actually really detailed report that neither me nor my son had ever gotten. But if I were to, do this over again in Madison, or my daughter Madison was my first child, I would never want to just do the computer test right off the bat, because like Annette has said, if you can't focus on something because your brain has been trained not to focus, then you're still going to get the diagnosis without having to spend a year in a clinical setting with your kid. And the benefit of that is to make sure that that is the proper diagnosis, because when you give your child something like Ritalin or Adderall, it is a heavy stimulant. It's going to result in outrageous behavior if you give that to a neurotypical child,
Mhm.
and then you're going to regret life. So, um, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Also, with this conspiracy that, kids' brains are just being trained, or that, kids' brains are being trained by tablets and video games to have a short attention span. That still cannot take away from the actual diagnosis of ADHD, because like it is possible for people to learn the effects of a different mental illness. So that is possible, but the mental illness is still a thing.
Right,
So
like, attention span is just one aspect of ADHD.
Right.
Like, there's
exactly.
so many other things. That kid with the attention span issues, maybe he's able to sit and focus on a task that he actually wants to do, well, I guess that's actually how ADHD works, so never mind,
Yeah,
but
well,
you know what I mean?
the
It's just
diagnostic
one way.
criteria for ADHD, there's I believe last time I checked there were 28 different criteria, and you have to meet 5 of them to
Okay.
be able to diagnose with the ICD-9. And the ICD-9 code is 314.01, and it also is the ICD-9 code for uh long-term use of ADHD medications and other like hyperkinetic conductive disorder, and so it's kind of grouped in to the same thing. And that's what some physicians are saying, that the actual criteria for a diagnosis of ADHD is not very strong, and
Well, yeah,
that's one of
only
the
5 out of 28, so, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
that's also the ICD-9 as opposed to the DSM-5, which is used in the United States.
right.
But, I mean,
So
there are a lot
but
like,
the DSM-9, it's still the 5 point criteria
okay. Like,
to yeah,
ADHD manifests in so many different ways. But I have a burning question for you guys, though. I'm
okay.
wondering, do you know, or do you know of anyone who has ever just kinda, mm, thought that their child had ADHD and really pushed for it, and, like, even if you think maybe their kid didn't, like, do you know anyone who you think is contributing to this overdiagnosis problem where they just read about it on the internet and they're like,
I've
"Oh, that
s
that must be my kid."
I've
Yeah.
seen those I've seen those parents in clinical, like, when I had to do my, clinical residency.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, really pushy moms that are like, "My kid has ADHD," and it's like, I can sit there 5 ways to the sunset and still be like, "No, your kid just is, having a problem with, long-term focusing and is unmotivated."
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
seeing any of the other signs of ADHD, and there were quite a few people who came in and pushed for it because they thought if they got meds for their kid, then suddenly they in
The grades would get better.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work that way.
That's so sad. That is so sad because it's like, y it's hard because there's this balance of, like, I want to encourage people to like get a diagnosis, if you suspect your kid has a diagnosis, but also like I don't know, sometimes people do just take it too far and they don't think about the other things. They just want to blame it on something.
Well, and that's for kids, right? On
Right,
the flip
yeah.
side of that, if you take any of the stimulant ADHD medications as a neurotypical person, it is a major high.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
That's why all the
there
college
are
kids want Adderall.
yeah, there are a lot of neurotypical people who want to get their hands on ADHD medications, go in and try to fake all the tests. And if you don't have therapists that are like really specifically looking at, whether or not you meet the criteria or not, if you got find like a haphazard kind of therapist, that's dangerous. And
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
an intense
Well,
high.
I mean, I personally feel like it's
Yeah.
hard to get a diagnosis, especially as a woman. It's
Oh, it
even
is.
harder to get meds. It's even harder than that to
Mhm.
get stimulant meds. I mean, I saw three different psychiatrists before one of them would even let me try something because it was just, you keep getting dismissed. Oh, no, you got
Mhm.
good grades in school, so you can't have ADHD. And
Ah,
it's like,
lies,
I just
lies.
right. Like, it's like, I couldn't even have a conversation with them because they just wrote me off immediately. It's like they wouldn't even listen to me.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
had to go to a nurse practitioner who worked in psychiatry, and she was the first person who actually would like listen to me and
Yeah,
didn't
nurse
just talk at
practitioners
me.
are awesome because they have
I
less
know.
ego
They
than
are.
doctors.
They
Exactly.
do.
I know, I love nurse
Yes.
practitioners. I highly recommend them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like round of applause for nurse practitioners. We love you.
Oh, we love you. You're like, yeah, better than
Absolutely.
they're seriously like just as knowledgeable as doctors,
Yeah.
you know, if
Them and
depending on their
social
experience.
workers.
Mm.
Social workers are amazing. The person who took actual interest in my ADHD and sat and listened, that was a social worker, not a
Oh,
psychiatrist and not a psychologist, a social worker.
yeah.
Somebody who is trained to work with marginalized populations.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So if you're out there and you're having trouble seeking any kind of therapy or medication for your ADHD and you want to be taken seriously, I highly recommend a nurse practitioner or a social worker if you've struck out like I did with four different psychologists and a psychiatrist. I struck out with them
Yeah.
all.
It's hard. That's the thing.
So,
You kind of have to shop around sometimes and find the right therapist for you because a
Yeah,
lot of them are
mhm,
just
I told you
ignorant.
that too. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
there's a lot that are ignorant. I've worked with a lot of them. There's some that are ignorant. There's some that are just arrogant. They think
Yeah.
that they are the
Yes.
gods and they know everything and really know
Yep.
nothing. And you know, then and you got to remember that when you're looking for a therapist, it has a lot has to do with your personality. I do not do well with a lot of therapists. So
I have to have
Yay.
I need to have, like, a chill therapist that's non-judgmental, but that will also, like, keep me accountable for things? So,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. But I recommend
Yeah.
therapy for everyone. Go find someone that works for you, though. Don't give up. I know so many people that are like, "Oh, I tried therapy, I hated it." It's like, "Well, you went to one person and they were a bitch, so I don't blame you."
Yeah.
Try again. It's
Yep.
great. It's
Keep
like dating.
trying.
You're not gonna click with everyone.
No.
Anyway, we
But
got off
So
track again.
here is
ADHD.
here is the next
Yes.
ADHD conspiracy, and this one actually is a legit conspiracy.
Oh,
So,
shit.
previously in our conversation, we talked about how there is a shortage of certain types of ADHD medications.
Yeah.
This is only in the US, mind you.
Mhm.
Other places
right.
in the
Only
world
here.
are not having a shortage. Okay, and these are controlled by the FDA and the F- FDA and the Drug
Yeah.
Administration. What is
The
DEA?
maybe DEA?
DEA.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember my
I
my
don't know.
governmental agencies today. I don't
Yeah,
care. I don't live there.
you
Yeah.
don't live there anymore.
Anyway, so they have controlled the creation of this according to the conspiracy theory. They've controlled the dosage of this, saying that it's at risk, while at the same time having the manufacturers who are creating these drugs putting and making a different type of medication that is ineffective for ADHD in order to have people looking on the black market to find their ADHD medications. And in the black market, their ADHD medications might be laced with fentanyl, leading
Wow.
to more fentanyl deaths, which is being used as a talking point for the current 2024 election cycle.
Wow.
So people have dragged politics right into this and crapped it all up. That's what I'm hearing.
I would not I would not be surprised at all if the government was getting that fentanyl from somewhere and putting it in our country. I mean, they
It's a
fucking did
big
that with
enemy.
weed. They did that with
Mhm.
cocaine, back in the day.
Heroin
Yeah,
So,
from
that's true.
China.
mhm.
Yep, yep, yep. I mean, they've got a history. And this
Yeah,
is
what the
why
fuck?
people form these conspiracy theories because
Yeah.
when your government is so shady and underhanded that that they're bringing drugs into a country that they've outlawed just so they can disseminate them so that they can keep the prisons full so they can keep money in the coffers. Like,
I
come
know.
on.
But
I
maybe
mean, all this
maybe
has been really well documented, so it is not a conspiracy. And but this is what drives conspiracy theories, people. It's the distrust. And I hope somebody who
mhm.
works in government somewhere is listening to me, even though I'm a teeny tiny little speck inside of the universe. Um, I hope somebody is listening. I hope everybody is listening because we can't lie to people, cheat people, steal from people, and bully people into somehow miraculously, believing in the greatness of our country. We can't do that to people. So it doesn't work. It's like, the beatings will continue until morale improves kind of thing. So anyway.
Negative
um
reinforcement is not it doesn't work. Not on me.
yeah. But just because there's a shortage of Adderall here in this country does not mean that there is a conspiracy with drug companies, that they're just out there to, make a buck or two off of increasing diagnoses. I rather think that the increase in diagnoses is really coming from marginalized populations where either mental health care was not available to them before or where they were not being taken seriously. So women and anyone who was, unfortunately jobless for periods of time or had jobs where there were no benefits, so they didn't have mental health care. Low earning households that can't spare the time or the cash to go into a therapist's office. I think that that's where, as more and more states are more aggressively dealing with their Medicaid systems and offering healthcare to more people, they're taking advantage of that, and that's why there are more diagnoses.
Okay, Jen is making
So,
too much sense, so I got to drag this back down to the gutter. Okay, here.
yes.
Um,
Sorry.
at the subreddit conspiracy subreddit, I loved
Here we
this.
go.
I Here we go. Okay, I love this. This is
Yes,
by
yes.
Water Melancholy. Okay, it's a quite a read, but follow me. Here's
Okay.
here's my conspiracy theory. I'll try to do it very quick. The CIA, we know, trafficked cocaine in the 80s and the 90s into the US, intentionally causing the crack epidemic and used the money to fund black book projects. I think they didn't stop. The extremely unethical and predictable OxyContin boom, followed by tons of heroin coming into the US to create the opioid epidemic. This timeline lines up exactly with when US troops invaded Afghanistan. which supplies 80% plus of the poppy's opium for the world. Now that we've pulled out of Afghanistan, all of a sudden, heroin doesn't exist here anymore. Now the opioid epidemic is over and has a terrible reputation. So the government slash DEA cracks down hard on pain pills. So no new opiate addicts can form. All that's available for the addicts of yesterday is extremely dangerous fentanyl cut and inexplicably with this trank shit, okay, that just
Tranquilizer.
yeah, trank shit that just rots people's bodies and kills them. No new junkies. Wipe out the old ones. On to the new next thing. If you want to go full tinfoil hat on this, all connects to George H.W. Bush, who was head of the CIA during the JFK assassination by the CIA. He oversaw the cocaine antics of the 80s, and then his son had a very convenient disaster take place. If continuing to supply the drug supplies was the goal, there's a lot more, but that's already a lot.
So that is a lot. My
Wow.
very first really burning question is how this person thinks that heroin doesn't exist in this country anymore. Have you ever been to a city? Have you ever looked in an alleyway and seen all the needles scattered everywhere?
I think
Heroin is still
I
here.
think he
Come
means
on.
that you don't hear about it in the news anymore. It's not being used as a scare tactic anymore.
I feel
Well,
like
it's not being
there's
used as a scare tactic, and if that's how what that means, then yes, that's
yeah.
correct. It's not being used as the boogeyman anymore, but um it still absolutely exists, and there are other choices for street narcotics
But isn't it
other than
interesting?
fentanyl.
Isn't it
Yeah.
interesting that fentanyl is being supplied by China through
Mhm.
Mexico?
China.
And China is our next big enemy. Like it is, I mean, I'm saying, and
No.
it's coming through
What?
the southern border, which the Republicans want to, close, but that's not going to actually stop drug trafficking, in my opinion. I think
No.
it's a little
Yeah.
harder than just building a wall. So,
Oh, it is.
yeah,
Yeah, there's way more to
and
that
I
than just
think that the
building a wall.
government is
Oh
bringing in
god.
most of the drugs. So,
I agree.
personally,
Yep.
It worked for them a couple other times. Why wouldn't it work again,
There
you know?
right?
look at prohibition when they took away all the alcohol.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Who was selling
interestingly,
the alcohol? The
one of my
government.
grandfathers
The government.
one
Mhm.
of my grandfathers was actually a moonshiner from Canada.
Oh, cool. That's rad.
Yep.
But yeah,
That's
we can't
amazing.
trust them. We can't trust them. And
Yeah.
I I don't know. I just don't I also don't trust the pharmaceutical industry. It's really sad, you know.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people have lost trust in the structures of our society.
Yeah,
So,
but
Yeah.
there are so many. I went looking, and there are so many TikToks about saying that people saying that their ADHD medication isn't working anymore.
yes, I've been seeing that on Reddit as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Mhm.
And that is strange, and I wonder if it's because they're actually diluting the amount of amphetamine salts in the entire pill. So it says it's still the same dose, but it's actually a lower dose, like, standard shrinkflation tactics, but just applied to medicine. And like I kind of wonder if maybe that's going on at all, because that to me would explain why somebody's standard dose of medication might not be doing what it had done previously. But also, there is something that doesn't really get talked about too much,
Hmm.
not out loud anyway, not outside of doctors' offices, where sometimes if you take a medication for long enough, your body gets used to it and it becomes less effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not something that, always has to do with the manufacturer, introducing a defect of some kind. So great example. I know I already mentioned going off my meds. I'm starting to figure out that I think my medications were starting to behave differently in my body too, leading me to question whether they are going to still be appropriate for me going forward. And that's not because it's Adderall. It's not Adderall. I'm not taking Adderall, and yet my medication is less effective. I believe that's because I've been taking it for so long that my body's getting used to
Mhm.
it, and I'm starting to have what they call a paradoxical reaction to medications, which means that the medication does the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
wonder what the expression rate of that is. Like, it's not
I don't
everybody. Like, you can take a medication your whole life
know.
and it's effective, so it's not everybody. So I wonder
Mm.
what the expression
Yes.
rate for that is, and if that
Eh,
matches up with how many people are actually saying that their ADHD meds are not working anymore.
Well, doesn't your body
yeah.
change, like, every 7 years? Your
Yeah.
hormones kinda
Well, yeah, yeah.
fluctuate, and so could be
Mhm.
that too. Excuse me.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
yeah.
point because
Yeah.
why do you think
Yeah,
you
it's
feel
possible.
shitty every fucking new decade of life you get? Like,
Right,
punches you in the face.
we're always playing this game with our bodies that's like, why do I feel shitty right now?" And
Yeah,
then, like, it
"What
takes a
the
while
fuck
to
are you
yeah,
doing?" Yeah.
right. It takes a
Mhm.
while to realize, "Oh, maybe this medicine isn't doing anything for me," you know?
It does,
Mhm.
especially if it's psychotropic medication,
Right.
because let me tell you,
No.
when
I'm
you take
wondering
psychotropic medication and it doesn't work anymore for you, you will not figure that shit out until you have stopped taking it, and then you're like, "Oh
yeah,
my god, it explains everything,"
right.
because it's working on your mind.
I'm wondering how many people started to see other people talking about my meds aren't working anymore, and then just psychologically they're like,
Oh,
yeah,
mine too.
yeah, I think mine too. Even if maybe they are working, but it's just like I mean, the placebo effect is
Power of
real,
suggestion.
right? That's what I'm getting at exactly. Like, I wonder how much of it is people saying, but I mean, no med is perfect. I've tried so many fucking meds, and it's like there is not a perfect medicine out there. Like, I don't know if some people just have this expectation like it's gonna fix their ADHD, but you know,
Yeah. I think as consumers of medications, prescription medications, or any medication, to be frank, you kind of have to do your own research with your own body sometimes and do
yes,
little scientific experiments.
we're all
So, like,
different.
if you think that your ADHD medication is no longer working for you, you can, take your medication as prescribed for, like, let's say a month's period of time and mark down every single time you have a side effect, every time you have a good day. You just keep a journal of how your days were and what frustrated you, and then you take, a week, 2 weeks, a month, and go off your medications if that's safe for you, because that is not safe for
Well,
everybody.
yeah, I was gonna say I think
Like,
it depends
for
on the
instance, people
medication.
with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, you need to be very, very careful
Hmm.
about going off your meds. I highly don't
Yeah,
suggest.
always
But
talk to your doctor first before doing that, of course.
yes,
But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But, write that down in the journal too and see, every single day for that month, what did you experience, and how does that compare to the month before when you took your medication? So then you can come up with a more reasonable idea of whether that medication is really working for you or not, or if maybe you just thought that it wasn't working because you noticed in your notes that you were, dealing with some kind of a grief or loss, and maybe it messed with you. Like, that's totally possible too. Not everything is about the meds.
Yeah.
exactly.
But there is still a shortage in the
Yeah.
US,
There
and why is that?
Mm,
See,
sus.
I wanna believe in this conspiracy. This is like I don't usually want to believe in the conspiracies on this, but I wanna believe in this
Yeah, that's me.
conspiracy because I hate the government.
I'm glad we're being transparent about
Well,
this.
okay, but let's think about this, guys. I mean, really, it goes all the way to the top. This is beyond the government. This is the archons, pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Lizard people.
They want
Lizard
us to be
people.
negative. They want us to be confused, desperate, miserable. Of course they're going to fuck with our meds and we're going to have a shortage. It's probably just the lizard people doing this. So,
Goddamn archons. I thought they already had the soul trap. That's how
well,
they get
But
fed. Come
that's
on.
feeding the soul trap, Jen.
All right, fine.
You
I
know,
mean, I
because
think
you take away people's meds, they start like fucking up their lives and they get really depressed about it because they're like, why the hell? I can't get my meds and everything. So their negative
Mhm.
energy is going out into the world and
right,
it's
the
feeding. You
whoosh.
know, my New Year's resolution this year was to like
Mhm.
like have more positive thinking, and I've already failed. Okay.
Oh no. I'm too
I don't even
positive.
make New Year's resolutions anymore because I forget them within a week.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah,
But
but
but no, the archon. I think it's all the archon's fault. For the
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah, that it
And
explains
I
everything.
I can't remember. I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, but I can't remember what text it was in. It was either the Gnostic Bible or some other text where it was talking about them. They're wanting a negative harvest. They're trying to get as
oh yeah, I
many
heard about
people
that too.
negative
Yeah.
as possible. I don't even remember where we read that from, but it's like, it almost feels like that's what's happening in our world. People are getting more and more miserable overall. It's spreading.
I feel like the
Well, when
archons
you have
are just
leadership that
Mm.
no,
oh, sorry.
sorry, but I feel like the archons are just like this made up idea of narcissism. And like, because we
Yes.
know our narcissism, we see narcissism, and to take pleasure in somebody else's pain is highly narcissistic. So, like, the archons are probably just like some narrative for like the elites of the world who are pretty steadily narcissists.
Yeah. Yeah.
ADHD thought, quick ADHD thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to start I'm going to start taking the N away from narcissist and then
Narcissist.
call them arcissists.
Ah!
So then it's all
Arse.
arcissistic behavior,
Because you're
you
an
know?
arse. Because
Cuz
you're
you're a freaking arse.
Stop being an arse. I love it.
narcissistic. Narcissistic. I like it.
Narcissistic.
I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like it.
But
That's
yeah,
good.
either
Quick ADHD
way,
thought there.
but exactly, whoever's in charge, they are definitely not an empathetic person that or people that want to help other people. It's like it just seems like year after year it gets more expensive to live, to just exist, harder to survive.
Okay, here,
Yep.
this is like the greatest question I have for you because, like, okay, skeptic here, but you know, if you look at your current representatives, do you
Mm.
feel that any of them are actually working for you? I mean, there are a few that
No, they're
maybe,
working for money and
no, the
power.
higher up you get, those people are not interested in what is best for all of us. They don't
Exactly.
care. All they want is
Mhm.
power and money, and they're making these decisions based off of the bankrolling of these major corporations. And if you look at the major corporations in the world, they're all owned by like 3 different mega corporations.
Oh,
So,
it's sick.
Oh my
or maybe
gosh.
it's 10. I don't know,
So
but it's
this is
not very
why
many.
Bernie was silenced. In my opinion, this is why Bernie Sanders was silenced and like just
Mhm. He
railroaded
spoke
off
for
of
the
the
people.
tickets because
Anyone who does. I mean, that's
yeah,
why.
he was like I feel like he was truly going like trying to represent the people and, everybody
Yes.
involved in government and corporations and, the
Mhm.
horrible enmeshment that exists there. They were all like, "No way, this guy is gonna ruin our billionaire fun for everyone." Like, it's
Almost trillionaire, as Ellen pointed out earlier in our
Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah,
discussion.
true.
I think that was before we were recording.
Mm.
Yeah, we're supposed
Yeah.
to have a trillionaire in the next decade, but poverty is not going to be eradicated for another 230 years. So,
Yeah, well,
If that.
hopefully we'll like go all
yeah,
French
it's
Revolution on
not.
that person's ass and like take
God.
him out to the street and hang him. Like seriously, if you're a trillionaire, you need to die. You need to die. Just die.
So this is kind of now that
Spread
we're
that
talking
wealth.
about now that we jump from ADHD to politics, this is one of the things that I don't really understand about the current United States political system. Um, People are against Biden. I can understand that he's establishment politician, but why is your savior Trump? I don't understand this. Isn't he an elite?
Yes.
I mean,
He is an elite.
he's not my savior, so I can't speak for those
But
people,
you know what I
but
I
yeah,
mean?
know.
Like,
exactly.
but you said, I hope we go all French Revolution on their ass, right? But isn't that what they tried to do
What do you
Wait.
on
mean?
January
Oh, you mean
6th?
the
You know, like, isn't that what they
Oh,
tried to
yeah.
eh?
do? So,
Yeah.
No,
but like,
I don't think it is what they tried to do because they're being led by somebody who's extremely wealthy to do his particular bidding of
in
getting
their
him the
head,
presidency.
not
Mhm.
his, in their head, they don't understand that
He's a
they were doing
charmer.
somebody else's bidding. Okay. In their head, they are the next French Revolution and they are just trying to bring justice to the average man. They
Right.
believe
But
these.
what I'm
They
saying,
actually believe this. Okay. But like, if you
right.
go logically down that line, then why are you following an
Mhm.
elite?
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. That
And
is a very good question
we
and a
need
good
to talk
point.
we need to talk about that Baron Trump book sometime
Oh, we're doing
too.
that next
Oh,
week.
yes.
Yes.
I've been reading up on
Okay.
those. Tune
Stay
in next
tuned.
week. It's going to be a good talk, and we're going to talk about US politics. It's going to be interesting.
This is where politics and conspiracies intersect right
And
here.
I love it.
You know
I
it.
love it
Mm.
because I'm such a political junkie.
Yeah, I know. I try like I'm one of those like I don't know, maybe fair weather political junkies because I'll go and I'll be like, yes, give me my fix. I'm gonna be angry, so angry for months, and then I'm gonna be like, I need a detox.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna look at politics for
Oh,
Can't
like
can't watch
a
the news.
year.
it's like the
Well,
NFL for me, man. Pick your
this
team, and
Ah,
year
yeah,
yeah,
bring it.
it's
We're
sports.
this
gonna argue. We're
well
gonna
this
get
this
toxic.
year is the Super Bowl in
Yeah.
November. So, whew,
Oh my
gonna
gosh.
get
Yep.
interesting. We'll see what
Oh, I
happens.
know. I'm like following all the trends. I am totally excited about this. I love watching people who are politically like really far on these like spectrums because it just fascinates me because I'm such a middle independent. And so I'm looking at both sides, just kind of going, what you doing? You know, like,
Oh,
I don't even know how to categorize myself even, to be honest. Like,
mhm.
I know that I'm progressive-y, and I know that I agree with liberal people on some things, but I also disagree with them on some things. And I agree with conservatives on some things that would surprise people. So I don't feel like I have a home. I feel
No, I feel like there's a
alone.
lot of
I'm
people that
out
are
here in the
moderate like
universe.
that, and me too. I agree. I don't identify with either side. I mean, to be honest, I don't even think Republicans and Democrats, we should be working together.
yeah,
They should be working together. And really, it's a class war happening right now. This is
It
rich
yeah.
versus
is.
poor. The rich people are trying
Yes.
to get us to fight each other. Meanwhile, we're not, we're
Once
leaving
we
them
all
alone.
figure it out, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I
You
think
know
people
what
are waking
I
up.
had I had a very just absolutely like wonderful conversation with a politics instructor in college. Like it was after class and I was hanging around and he was talking to me one on one about the merits of introducing a three-party system
Oh,
so that
like no
we
labels?
like what do you mean?
No
Huh?
labels. Haven't you heard of no
No labels?
labels?
No, not yet. Why?
Oh, no labels. They're considering actually throwing in one Democrat and one Republican, one running as president and the vice president. So it's a mixed ticket.
Oh,
Oh,
maybe
that's
I
cool.
have heard of this.
So,
Yeah.
similar to that,
It's like
but with
Mnuchin
3
is
parties. So, you form a third party, that third party gets, equal space and consideration on tickets. So, the idea is that if they were required to do one third Republicans, one third Democrats, one third, you know,
Independent.
this other party,
Mhm.
Yeah.
then in Congress and the House, nobody would ever have a majority vote.
Yeah.
So they would be
Oh, I
forced
like
to work
that.
together.
I like things in threes too. Mhm.
Yes, I like 3. 3 is a
Trios,
great
they're great.
number.
I mean, here we
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're excellent. There's 3 different subtypes of ADHD, we each inhabit one of them, trios, yay.
Yeah, and you know what? Then maybe they'll get the ADHD medication all shit sorted out and get your food system all cleaned out and, you know, bring back health
Maybe.
for the younger for the masses and, you know,
Mhm.
maybe fix inflation, also increasing, you know, our wages so that you don't have to work till you're dead. Dude, Nikki Haley
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
week or like a couple weeks ago, she was like, "We're gonna increase the retirement age to 70," and I was like, "Bitch, I don't want to work until I'm
No.
70." Like,
No. No, no, no.
That is such a bad idea for so many reasons. I can't even count them all. I
That's
don't
what they
have
were
that many
protesting
fingers and
about in
toes.
France, wasn't
no,
it?
no,
Uh,
that was one of the
I
things they've been protesting a lot of
yeah,
different
yeah.
things lately.
That's true, they did, yeah, yeah.
You know what?
Like
Go
last
France.
year, whatever that was, like 6 months ago. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah,
because they tried to raise the retirement age. Yeah, don't fuck around with people's retirement.
no,
Mm-mm, no way.
for
I'm
Social
sorry, but
Security.
once you hit a
Yeah.
certain age, you're just not going to be as productive anyway. Like, you're tired, you
I
have ailments,
know.
your body hurts, you're tired because you had kids, and also you're tired.
And then you're
But yeah.
So,
tired.
and
Mhm.
then you're tired more. So, just let them rest, people. They've
No.
earned it. They've worked
No.
forever. I mean, they've been mothers, they've been grandparents, like, and I'm counting mothers specifically because we get railroaded into situations with zero retirement because
Mm.
we are not thought of as
Mhm.
a real, like, mothers are not considered, like, that's not a real
Yeah,
job,
no,
but no, we just spend our entire lives doing it, right? So anyway,
this is a capitalistic system. Mothers do not contribute anything to the economy, obviously, and so we are
Except for
worthless.
besides
raising
making
the
up the
next
Yeah.
majority,
yeah, except of
making up the
you know.
majority of the buying decisions. Like,
Oh,
that's
then no, you know what, women, let's just not have any more babies and see how the economy does after that.
That's kind of what's
yep, that's right.
happening.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Close
even
enough legs.
my daughter is like, my daughter Emily, she's 21, and she's like, "I'm not having kids," and I was like, "Well, that's fine, but
No.
why?" And she was like, "I watched you with the twins. I was old enough to actually watch you raise them, and I like my life. I want
Too
freedom."
expensive. It's too
Yeah.
expensive to have kids, and yeah, I think I don't know anyone that's a Gen Zer that is planning on having kids, personally, but
No. They're all
yeah.
saying, like, "No."
Mhm.
Mhm.
Except my
Oh,
daughter
I know a lot of
Corinne.
them.
My daughter
Yeah.
Corinne is like,
Oh,
"I'm having all the babies."
Well, she's still young. She has
interesting.
time to
She has a
learn more.
yeah, she's scary. That one's gonna be that one's scary.
Well,
Chaotic
our
evil.
ADHD conversation did go all over the place.
It like it
See, it's
It
does.
because we
did.
have ADHD.
Yeah.
We're unmasking here,
If you
people.
yeah,
Did
if
we
we
ever get to point number 3 on this? Because you had
Yeah, we kind of
5 points.
covered we covered 1 and 2 at the same time, so it was okay.
okay,
All
good.
right, all right, all right.
Perfect.
I'm just checking
All
because
right.
we did actually have some form of organization going here, and it went
In
all over the
theory.
place. Yeah, in theory.
No, but you guys, we stuck to it for the most part. Like 70% of this was about
Yeah,
ADHD and, you know, conspiracies. The other 30 was just fucking around. So,
Mhm.
but that's
yeah.
what y'all are
And
here
I don't even
for,
have.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
probably. They're probably here to just listen to us make speech blunders and like misquote people and all kinds of chaos.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
listening, everybody.
And tune in
Yep.
next week for Baron Trump's incredible adventure.
Unless we change our
What?
mind and do something else, because we might do
Because,
that, but
you
Because we
know,
could.
yeah, because we
you
have
never know.
ADHD.
That's how much control we have in this scenario.
Mhm.
Mwah.
All right. Thanks,
All right. But
everyone.
seriously, we do appreciate every single one of you out there listening. We love doing these chats. it's fun for us, and we love it when we hear from people who are like, "We just like what you're doing. Thank you." And that just cheers us right up, guys. It makes us have a great day. So, anyway, I hope you're having a great day wherever you are or night, and we'll see you next time on the Triple S podcast.
Peace.
Bye.